Jnanakosha, Puranas, Introduction.
सर्गश्च प्रतिसर्गश्च वंशो मन्वन्तराणि च वंशानुचरितं चैव पुराणं पञ्चलक्षणम्.
Vishnu Purana, Part 2. Description of the 9 planets. The moon rides a chariot with 3 wheels. This chariot is hauled by 10 horses. During its entire journey, the moon passes through all the 27 nakshatras. These horses haul the moon's chariot for a complete kalpa. With his rays, the sun nourishes the moon, which loses its strength because of drinking of its ambrosia by the gods. When the gods brought even the last drop of nectar from the moon, it enters the sun's sphere. That day is known as Amavasya, moonless night. That day the moon first enters the water, then the foliage of the trees, creepers, and ultimately enters the sun's sphere. That is why anybody who cuts trees or even plucks a leaf commits crime equal to killing a Brahmin. On the day of Amavasya, Pitragana drink the nectar from the moon and feel sated. Thus moon sats the gods during the brighter phase and the Pitragana during darker phase. The moon also showers its nectar on the trees, creepers and other vegetation. It also causes exhilaration for the human beings, animals, birds and creatures like insects. Buddha is the son of moon. His chariot is made of fire and air and is hauled by 8 horses of deep yellow color. The chariot of Shukra is also very splendid and is adorned by beautiful flags. Mangal rides a golden chariot which is born from the fire. His chariot is hauled by 8 red horses. Brihaspati rides a golden chariot hauled by 8 yellow horses. Shani is famous for slow motion. He rides a chariot which was born from the sky. The color of his chariot horse is also very peculiar. Rahu's chariot is brown in color and hauled by 8 black horses. Ketu's chariot is also drawn by 8 horses which are red in color. Chariots of all the 9 planets are tied to Dhruva. Thus all of them traverse the same path again and again year after year. Sighting of Shishukumara Chakra constellation path in the night destroys all the sins that a human being commits during the daytime. Water is a tangible form of Lord Vishnu. Even the earth was born out of water. Stars, all the 3 worlds, forests, vegetation, mountains, direction, rivers, sea and entire nature is the form of Lord Vishnu. This vivid nature thus shows omnipresence, character of Lord Vishnu. Life sketch of Bharata. Maitreya says, Lord, now I wish to hear various tales from the life of King Bharata. He was born in a pious land and always contemplated on God. Even then, why he failed to attain salvation? What did he do in his next birth as a Brahmin? Parashara says, King Bharata always contemplated on God. He stayed at Shalagram for a long time. There he used to recite the names of gods and collect various materials for his worship. Other than that, he did not do anything. One day, while he was taking bath in the river, a doe arrived at the opposite bank. She was in the final stage of pregnancy. While she was drinking water, a lion roared somewhere in the forest behind her. That roar frightened the doe so much that she jumped across the river to save her life. Exertion of jumping resulted in premature littering of her fawn, which fell in the river. On the other hand, the doe also could not bear the pain and died. King Bharata rescued the just born fawn and brought it to his hermitage. Since then he began to foster the fawn with love and care. With time, Bharata's attachment grew for the fawn and whenever he went out of sight, he could feel perplexed. Soon King Bharata deserted everything for the love of the fawn. He even left his routine worship and meditation, for it would be hard to concentrate. Whenever the fawn was near, and at times when the fawn was out of sight, it worried Bharata, and hence he could not concentrate. But the fawn could not give up its natural instinct. When it grew up, one day it happened to sight a herd of deer and mingled with it to find a mate of its own choice, and since that day it never returned to the hermitage. Separation from the deer proved fatal for the King Bharata. While dying, his mind was fully concentrating on the thoughts of the deer which he had fostered with love and care. Because of it, Bharata took his next birth as a deer, but still he remembered his past lives. So he deserted his herd and found a place in Shaligramam where he passed his time eating dry grass and foliage. In his next birth, Bharata was born in a cultured Brahmin family. In this birth also, he remembered his past lives. Since birth, Bharata knew all the rituals and scriptures and saw his soul in a transcendental way. Hence, even after his thread ceremony, he did not take up his education. Even the teachers failed to incite his interest in education. Bharata roamed here and there, clad in rags, and was hence insulted by fellow Brahmins and village folk. Thus Bharata remained indifferent to the others' treatment and sustained himself on whatever little he got to eat. After the demise of his father, his brothers made him work hard in the fields but gave little to eat. Because of his inertness, he was known as Jada Bharata. One night, even Jada Bharata was guarding his fields. The king's commander-in-chief, Sharaj, caught him and took him away. The king wanted to sacrifice him before goddess Mahakali, but seeing the supreme yogi being brought as a votive animal, goddess Mahakali expressed her wrath by decapitating the king and drank his blood. In another incident later on, the king of Savir was traveling in a palanquin to visit sage Kapila for religious preaching. Incidentally, one man fell short to carry his palanquin. So the other carriers saw and caught Jadabharta to forcibly engage him in the work of carrying the palanquin. While walking, Jadabharta was taking care not to put his feet on any creatures. So he was moving very slowly, whereas other carriers were walking briskly. As a result of it, the palanquin was moving jerkily, causing irritation to the king. The king inquired the carriers about the reasons of that jerky motion. The carriers informed him that it was because of the new recruit who is moving very slowly. The king shouted at Jadabharta, "You appear to be quite burly. Don't you have enough strength? Does a little work tire you?" Jadabharta said, "O king, neither I am burly nor carrying your palanquin. I am neither tired nor there is any need for me to labor." The king said, "Apparently you are burly and my palanquin is also resting on your shoulder. Carrying a load always tires anybody. How are you different then from the others?" Jadabharta said, "Okay, king, first of all tell me, what do you see directly? Your saying that I am carrying your palanquin is also meaningless. Now listen to what I say. Both my feet are resting on the earth. On the feet are thighs, and on the thighs is belly. On the belly are chest, shoulders, and arms. Your palanquin is resting on the shoulders. What load am I carrying then? You are in the palanquin and I am on the earth are meaningless words. All the creatures, you and me, are all carried by the 5 basic elements. Even our virtues are controlled by our action. Only action is born out of ignorance. The soul is pure, non-degradable, calm, intangible, and beyond all nature. This same soul pervades all the creatures. Even our virtues are controlled by our action. Only action is born out of ignorance. The soul is pure, non The soul is pure, non-degradable, calm, intangible, and beyond all nature. This same soul pervades all the creatures. It neither grows nor decays. Why did you say then that I am burly? If this palanquin that is resting on my shoulders, chest, belly, thighs and feet could be a burden for me, it could also be a burden for you. Like this, all the living beings are carrying not only this palanquin, but all the mountains, trees, houses, and even the earth. Saying this, Jadabharata became silent. Still carrying the palanquin, the king at once got down from the palanquin and fell at Jadabharata's feet and said, "O Brahmin, leave this palanquin and tell me, why have you taken this guise? Who are you? What is the reason of your coming here? I am eager to know about you." Jadabharata said, "I cannot tell what I am and for the reason why I came here. I can say only that coming and going are all done so that one can experience their results. The soul takes an incarnation only to experience the joy and sorrow as per its deeds. Why are you then inquiring specifically about the reason for my coming here?" The king said, "The soul transmigrates from one body to another only because its action. I want to hear from you preaching regarding who am I cannot be told. O Brahmin, the soul that is eternal and experiences the results of its action is I. This mark of ego is not a cause of demerit in the soul." Jadabharata said, "You are right that words do not cause any demerit in the soul. But the ego expressed in the form of words is the reason for demerit in soul. When the same and single soul stays in everybody, possessive words are then meaningless. You are the king, this is the palanquin. They are the carriers and those are the subjects. O king, none of these words has any meaning. This palanquin is made of the word received from some tree. So tell me what it should be called, as a palanquin or wood." Nobody says that the king is sitting on a tree. It is because of specific construction that a heap of wood has assumed the shape of a palanquin. For the purpose of action, the same soul is identified physically as a man, a woman, a cow, a goat, a horse, an elephant, a bird, or a tree. But in fact, the soul is none of them. Things like wealth, king, kingdom, king's army, and all other things that you possess are not fact. They are imagination. For the subjects, you are king. For the son, your father. For the wife, your husband, and the father of her children. O king, tell me, what should I address you as? Are you different from any of these nouns? Hence, always be careful while considering who am I. O king, the soul is so arranged in different roles that it is very difficult to tell specifically its real identity. Jadabharata preaches the king. The king said, "O Brahmin, I was going to see sage Kapila and have the preaching regarding excellent human virtues. But now, hearing your words, I feel that I need not go any further. You are an ocean of knowledge. Kindly preach me about human virtues." Jadabharata said, "O king, for those who worship the Lord with a desire to receive wealth and kingdom, these things are a supreme goal. For those who want to attain heaven, action in the form of farming, yajna, is the goal. But the supreme virtue is to act in a selfless way without having a desire for result. A yogi must contemplate on the transcendental soul because it is the only means to merge with that supreme soul. If the wealth is the goal while it is spent in religious activities, if the son is the goal, the father too might have been a goal for someone. Thus, there is no supreme goal because everything exists for a time, then ceases to exist. Hence, the assumption of any physical thing as a supreme goal is meaningless. And consideration of soul separate from supreme soul is also futile. The soul is one, all pervasive, impartial, pure, intangible, and transcendental. It is free from the cycles of birth and death. It can neither be created nor be destroyed. It is supremely omniscient. Its manifestation in different life forms is temporary, and identification of soul with living beings is baseless. Soul, which is present in scores of living beings, is basically single and same. Once one comes to know this, he doesn't remain in darkness. Veil of ignorance then parts with him. Tale of Bhrigu and Nidagha. Hearing Jadabharata's words, the king fell in deep thoughts. Jadabharata then narrated the tale of Ribhu and Nidagha. Once upon a time, the beautiful town of Vinaga at the bank of the river Devika, there lived Nidagha, the son of Pulasya. He was a disciple of Ribhu, the son of Brahma. Once after a gap of 1,000 years, Ribhu decided to see his disciple Nidagha. So he arrived at Virnagar. Nidagha welcomed and treated him warmly. In the night after dinner, they both sat together and Nidagha asked him if he relished the food. Ribhu said, "O Brahmin, only those who feel hungry are sated. I have never experienced hunger or thirst. How then can I tell you about my satisfaction? Hunger and thirst are the virtues of the physical body. Health and satisfaction are the states of mind. O Brahmin, ask this question only to those who have these virtues, not me. Even the qualities of food like deliciousness and insipidness are meaningless because a delicious edible item loses its taste after some time and causes irritation instead of satisfaction. Hence, you should strive to develop a sense of impartiality towards delicious and insipid food items. Also, sense of impartiality is essential to attain salvation." Ribhu preaches Nidagha. 1,000 years after this incident, Ribhu once again decided to see his disciple Nidagha. So he once again arrived in Viranagar. At that time, king of that town was leading a procession of his army. So there was a great crowd on the main road of the town. Nidagha was carrying some worship materials from the forest, but seeing a huge crowd on the road, he stood outside waiting for its dispersation. Meanwhile, Ribhu also arrived there. Seeing Nidagha standing alone away from the crowd, Ribhu approached him and asked him why he was standing there. Nidagha said, "O Brahmin, today the king of our town had taken out a procession. So I am standing here waiting for the dispersion of crowd so that I can reach home and offer my worship." Ribhu asked, "It appears from your words that you know everything about your town. Kindly tell me who is the king and who are the subjects." Nidagha said, "The one who is riding an elephant is the king, and those who are follow him are the ground or his subjects." Ribhu said, "O Nidagha, you have shown me the king and the elephant together, but did not show their distinguishing symptoms separately. Who is the king among them and who is the elephant?" Nidagha said, "The one who is above is the king and the one who is beneath is the elephant." Ribhu said, "Kindly elaborate what is above and what is beneath." As soon as Ribhu finished his words, Nidaka climbed on his shoulders and said, "Look like the king. I am above you, and like the elephant, you are beneath me." Ribhu said, "If you are like the king and I am like the elephant, kindly explain to me, who are you and who am I?" Nidga at once climbed down and fell at Ribhu's feet and said, "Certainly you are the great sage Ribhu." Ribhu said, "Yes, I am Ribhu, and I have come to preach you out of affection." Thereafter Ribhu preached Nidga on the universality of soul and development of impartial view and left. By his preaching, Nidga ignorance dispersed and he began to see all the creatures equal to impartiality. O king, like the Brahmin who attains salvation because of impartial view, you also develop an impartial view regarding soul. Then you will not see anyone separate from you. Everything in this world is a manifestation of soul. Parashar says, thus preached by Jadabharta, the king of Savir left his partial attitude. Jadabharta too received salvation when he realized the true knowledge.